I'm going to start with where I'm going to finish, and that is, if you don't have anything to write with, I hope you'll be able to keep track of what I'm going to take you through. And I promised Cecile and Randy that I would leave charts and you could have what I've done. Usually someone would do a lecture and they do a PowerPoint presentation. Very seldom would you see someone actually do something with charts and flip chart and magic markers. We're doing charts, flip charts, and magic markers. Very high tech. But there's a reason why. You'll see why we're going to do it that way. I want to start with 3 words and have you write these down, and we'll talk about them some more. And I want to then talk about these 3 words in the context of leadership. And I'm going to take you through some thinking. Hi, I'm Dan. Nice to see you. Where are you from? China. Good. Well, thanks for coming. We're just getting started. Perfect time. So these are the 3 words: aspiration, inspiration, and discipline. Aspiration, inspiration, and discipline. So let's just think about that for a minute, just to get us introduced into the topic. Recently, a great icon in the world of technology just passed away. Who would that be? Steve Jobs. So if you were to use those 3 words and then use those as a measure to determine Steve Jobs as a leader, how would you think about aspiration? Think about the power of the PC. Just think about what Apple did. And he created it in his garage. So when you think about aspiration, would he be ranked high or low? Pretty high, right? Pretty high. Pretty high. Let's talk about inspiration. There's a whole world of people that align behind Apple, the Mac. They actually had a very famous ad that made fun of IBM. It showed lemmings walking to the seat. They were actually men in blue suits and white shirts. And he had a woman in a running outfit taking an anvil. And she went like this. And she let it go against the screen. And it exploded. And it said the Mac in the rough. He created, he inspired, literally, a world to follow his idea. That ad was one of the most successful ads. Do you know how many times it ran? Once. Once. So now you ask yourself, okay, so the guy had a shtick about PCs, could inspire a community. How do you do and deliver a business? What was his discipline of actually delivering business? Anybody have Apple stock? Follow it? What's the #1 recognized brand in the world today? It's Apple. It's Apple. So, you all are here at Western. Dr. Ransdale has a view for Western. Can anybody tell me what it is? Great American. Wow. He'd be very proud. I am impressed. So that is what? His aspiration, right? Many of you are here because of Dr. Ransdale's aspiration. And somehow, his aspiration inspired you to come here. How's Western doing? Enrollment's over 20-some-odd thousand. Scores are up. People very proud to be here on campus. So you can start to see a trend, can't you? Aspiration, inspiration, discipline. So let's just have some fun here, and I'm not going to be picking sides. politically, but how do you think Barack Obama is doing? Aspiration. Amazing. The Audacity of Hope. One of the best-selling books of all time. Inspiration. Drove more voters to vote than ever before. How are we doing on discipline as a country? Lowest approval ratings of all time. So you start to see, okay, so what does that mean? Got an election coming up. People saying things. Literally, in the United States, there have been civil unrest about Wall Street. It's literally civil unrest where people are marching. We haven't seen that for a long time. There's a lack of discipline. Now, you can't hang this all on the wall, right? There's no way you can. But when you step out as a leader, you end up taking on certain responsibilities. And so what is the wisdom of a leader? How can you have, as a leader, be a wise leader? And that's where I want to take you today. So start with aspiration, inspiration, discipline. I'm going to end there, telling you now. And I want you to challenge yourself personally, in your personal life, in your work life, in what you do in communities. Ask yourself, what do I aspire to do? How do I inspire others? And what is my discipline to go get it done? And if you end up walking out of here with just those 3 thoughts in your mind, and you think back to some great leaders, and you start applying that to your life, I think you will have changed your life. I think you will literally, through today, very easy, you'll start to think about yourself different. What do I aspire to? How do I inspire others when they see me and I talk to them? And then what is my discipline? How do I know course correction? With me so far? If I start getting too heavy, tell me. But you guys are the most advanced group that I've had, so I feel comfortable taking you there. But if the energy level's not right, or you think I'm too heavy, because I'm going to take you through some really cool stuff now. And I'm really going to literally try and change how you think about things. You ready? So, I literally put all this together ahead of time because I know we're short on time. At least I'm short on time to deliver this the way I want to you. So I've written down many of the things I'm going to say. You'll be able to hear me say them. You'll actually be able to read what I'm going to say to you. You with me? So the first thought around a wise leader, you can judge goodness. What are we talking about with goodness? Now, are prophets goodness? Yes, prophets are good. Absolutely. There's a moral discernment, though, that has to be done. You have to do what you believe is right. You have to believe what you believe is good. And then doing the right thing and do it boldly. We're at a point in our society right now where people have done certain things that have not aligned into society. And around. When you find out that someone has been polluting a river system by dumping toxic waste to make profits, how do you feel about that? You don't like it, right? There's this alignment that is now required of leaders that has to judge goodness, and it has to contribute to society. And you have to figure out where that is. We've given too many people a pass. And there is leaders that miss this goodness aspect of their responsibility. And they follow a certain path, and it's a very short benefit. If you have longevity, it's because you have been able to live in harmony with society, and you've been accepted because you contribute to society. So as you go out and do what you do, in the organizations that you're a part of, there has to be this concept of harmony. How many of you have, there's a little device, it's called Newton's cradle. There's 5 balls that kind of hang off of a little apparatus. You take one, something shaking. You know what I'm talking? You take one out, you slam it into the other four, and then that fifth ball goes out. The other four kind of stay there, somewhat stationary. It's a really interesting thought. It's called Newton's cradle. And then that fifth ball that went out, the force comes back and hits the other. And then actually two go out, and then over time they all move in harmony. It takes a long time for that harmony. If you were to go buy this little contraption that I'm talking to you, and you put it on your desk, and you let it go out, you'd see these go back and forth. That's what happens within life. Harmony. It takes a long time to get that harmony. I could use sports analogies for you. They talk about chemistry. Teams that all of a sudden, when you see a performance, the harmony, when you're with someone or something happens, it takes a long time, and then it ends. And then to start it up again, it requires something to be a kinetic piece of energy. This is what we're talking about in goodness here. Is have you directed that energy towards goodness? Is it in harmony? And can you do it boldly? This is one. I'm going to give you 6. Wise leaders grasp the essence. What is it that we are deciding on? This is decision making. But I'm not calling it decision making. I'm talking about the essence. Why? Because decision making can be very flip. It can be, let's just make a decision and get on with it. It could be what we're going to go do for dinner, where we're going to have dinner tonight. It could be the turn on a street or not. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about this whole notion of essence. What lies behind the situation? What is the vision of the future? And what are the consequences? And then you decide on the actions. And you take into consideration people, things, and events. People, things, and events. So this whole notion about, as a leader, do you grasp the essence? Dr. Ransdale and I were talking about something that he's considering. And he shared with me kind of the pros and cons and how much risk he wanted to take and what the consequences would be depending on a decision that he's thinking about. You don't need to worry about the decision. It's not going to make any difference to your life or not, but it's something that he's thinking about for Western in the future. Dr. Ransdale, when he was talking with Dr. Capps and myself, he was asking what lies behind the situation. Do I have a vision of what it looks like in the future and the consequences? And then how do I decide on those actions? Thinking about people, things, and events. Randy, you and I saw him do that. Just on one time. Right? One time. So when you see that, when you recognize it, you say to yourself, that's a leader. That is a wise leader. They're making a decision taking into consideration all of these things. That's number 2. I'm going to do a destination check with you. Okay so far? Okay. So I'm really going to challenge your thinking here. I'm going to try and broaden you out. I'm still going to come back to aspiration, inspiration, and discipline for you personally. But I want you to broaden out. I want you to start thinking about leaders differently. Our society needs different types of leaders. And you need to start thinking about things like goodness. And you have to think about things like essence. And you have to think about how you share context. What does it mean about what we're doing? How do you build, learn, and share? How do you create teamwork? And it's not just across the moment at time, but it refers to relationships that are formed and interactions that occur. Now let me tell you why this is so challenging today. See this little bubble right here? Can you read this? Can anybody read this? Yeah. Why did I decide, with all the tools that IBM has and all the speeches that I give, why did I decide to write something down for you? I'm trying to bring to you the notion that the interaction is important. Because you know, that, believe it or not, that's my handwriting, it's not very good. But you know, in order for this to be in front of you written this way, I did it ahead of time, right? So I prepared for you. I thought about you. I thought about what we were going to do. When you're on Facebook and someone responds to you, do you think they're really thinking about you?